today and plenty of sunshine out there, just a few fair weather cumulus clouds. And then with those windy conditions, you could start to see kicking up some dust out there, some haze on the horizon as we're making our way to sunset right now. Starting to cool off a little bit down to 62 degrees, but that's not going to be too cold going into these overnight hours. As we look at what we saw last night, we got into those upper 40s, dipped down to about that 46-degree mark, then ramped up a little bit today slowly as we saw that sunshine, getting us up into those mid-60s. And now, like I said, we're already starting that cool down. As you look at today's highs across the state of Texas, we're seeing our cold spot up in Amarillo, 53 degrees, and then 65 here in San Angelo is where we topped out. Much better than that 80 degrees they saw down there in Brownsville. Not feeling too much like the third day of February, but we are closer to average than we were seeing yesterday. It was much warmer yesterday. As we look at the current temperatures around the Concho Valley, we're seeing that 62-degree mark here in San Angelo, 62 in Brady, and then 61 degrees down in Ozona. And as we get a good look across the entire region, those 60s are pretty common for all of us. 61 there in Menard, 64 up in Robert Lee, then 61 for Barnhart as well as Ozona. So seeing those 60s across the entire region. Going to be getting down into those 40s into the overnight. But as we look at the dew point, not looking like a good chance for fog as we're way drier than we saw yesterday. 26 in there in Menard, 25 degrees for that dew point in Junction. 27 here in San Angelo. We were seeing those 40s for dew points yesterday. Seeing much drier conditions with those westerly winds pushing in that drier air. As we look at the satellite and radar, you can see this major storm still centered there over the Panhandle, pulling all this moisture up through Louisiana, through Arkansas, then up through Missouri and Kansas. That was what was responsible for our storms just roaring through the Concho Valley yesterday. But unfortunately, we're not going to be seeing any of this wraparound moisture making its way back to us, so we're pretty much done with that rain that we were seeing yesterday. But we do have those winds still in effect. We had those westerly winds, 25 to 30 miles an hour, so we have this wind advisory in effect through 9 a.m. right now, but that could be extended as we're seeing those winds stick around pretty windy going into tomorrow as well. Tracking this on the wind tracker, you can see those 25 to 30 mile per hour westerly winds going to be sticking around all night. Then tomorrow we're going to start to see that more of a northerly component to it, still that 25 to 30 miles per hour. Finally, by the time we're getting into Monday, that's where we start to see them getting down to that 10 to 15 miles per hour, a little bit more average for what we're used to around the Concho Valley compared to that wind advisory that we are in effect for right now. As we go into these overnight hours, we're going to be cooling off pretty nicely, getting down to about that 46-degree mark. Clear skies, but those gusty winds, so make sure we're tying down any of that outdoor furniture, anything that could be blowing around because that wind is going to be coming all night. And then tomorrow, we're getting up into those mid-60s under mostly sunny skies. Going to be very similar to what we saw today with those windy conditions. Just a few clouds out there, but lots of sunshine across the entire region, feeling pretty nice other than that wind. That's going to take us into our 7-day forecast, and that's what we have in store for tomorrow, that sunny, windy conditions. Then a pretty mild pattern is going to be ensuing for next week, where we see those 60s really taking over. A slight chance as we see a weak cold front pushing through on Wednesday for rain, but really not feeling too confident in it. And then into the weekend, we're seeing those 70s start to come up on the board. That's all for your 7-day forecast, but now we'll head on back to Maya.